So Fuji is doing something different, making cameras that feels like a retro camera, like a film camera from the past. So the aesthetics is there, and that's what draws people in. Oh man, if I were to say, I think it would have to be something like a film simulations and just have a community behind it that can create these different looks. Their lens lineup is very fleshed out when it comes to native lenses. But we also got to talk about the third-party options right now too. You got companies like 7 Artisans, TT Artisans, Viltrox, and so many more, Laowa. Although it's not a lot like Sony, because Sony has a lot of lenses. If you were to invest in a camera brand, I believe that Fujifilm should be up there when it comes to the lens selections that they have.
All right. Should we just go on?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Toms. This is Tung. I'm a Sony shooter. He was a Sony shooter. He's shooting Fuji now. He's shooting Nikon and whatnot. I'm still with the Sony. But in today's video, we just want to talk about this little guy, the XM5 Fuji, and what it means for a Sony shooter if they want to get into some Fuji stuff from Sony, and how does it compare, why one should consider this, and yeah, a podcast style, if you will. Let's try something new.
Good to be here, Toms.
That's loud. So let's go from broad approach to something more narrow, as I said. So why Fuji? What draws people to Fuji? What is it about Fuji that people want to get one?
Well, I think the first thing is that everyone is knowing Fuji for is how their camera looks. It looks totally retro. It looks different from all the other cameras that are out on the market right now. You got your Sonys that looks very boxy, and then you also got Canon that looks like that too, Nikon and the Panasonic Lumix as well. So Fuji is doing something different where they are, making cameras that feels like, a retro camera, like a film camera from the past. So the aesthetics is there, and that's what draws people in. And the second thing that draws people in are the Fuji colors, the film simulations. And that's where people are really excited about Fujifilm cameras. And, someone who's a beginner, they probably when they do a research between Fuji and Sony cameras, I believe that the Fuji cameras would get more recommendations because of the straight out of camera JPEGs. You don't have to edit as much, and the picture just comes out looking really, really good.
All right, we'll get into all the recipes and everything, but if you would say in 3 words describing, well, not 3 words, but if you would to describe a Fuji brand and a Sony brand, how they compare in just a very short sentence.
I would say the Sony cameras are more digital, more reliable, more like a workhorse, whereas Fuji is more fun. It's not as reliable, but I believe that a lot of people, even though it's, for me, I'll tell you why in a second, even though it's frustrating at times, I feel that the image that you get out of it makes up for that sometimes.
So imagine someone completely new to Fuji system wants to get in it. Can you name a couple of really popular Fuji cameras that usually get thrown around as a recommendation for beginners, for someone who wants everyday carry, someone who wants just fun out of it, not professional use?
Right. So right now the hot camera is the Fujifilm XM5. I believe that this is Fujifilm's entry-level camera. If you are going to start with a Fujifilm camera right now, this is the camera to get because it's less than $1,000 for the body only, whereas other Fuji cameras are a little bit over $1,000. So this camera gives you just enough to get started, and I'm pretty sure that the compromises in this camera, like the beginners, they won't even think about all the other pro features that you need on this camera.
Yeah, so then I was thinking about X100 6, I guess. That's the new one, and XT. And what about the older models? Because I know a lot of people would get an older APSC camera as well, and I think you can get used. That's really popular also with beginners. Would you have any other recommendations below $1,000?
So the Fujifilm X100 I wouldn't recommend to a beginner because it's around $1,500-$1,600. and it is also a fixed lens camera. So that means that you can't change lenses in the future. So you're stuck with that 35 millimeter full frame equivalent lens for the rest of eternity. So if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend that, because what if that's not the focal length for you? You need to try out different focal lengths. So that's why I always recommend like an interchangeable lens camera from Fujifilm, not something like the Fujifilm X106, even though that's a beautiful, beautiful camera. And also, you talk about getting a used camera, which I also recommend. So I'm going to throw out some names for you. Like, instead of the XM5, you can also go the used route and get something like the Fujifilm X-T30, like the Fujifilm X-T3. They all use the same sensor that is found in this camera, and the X-T3 has weather sealing, which this camera doesn't have. So if you need something like that, then yes, I highly recommend you going the used route. But the reason why this is still a king in my opinion, is the size. It's really small. It's really cute. I think it just looks pretty, and that's why the beginners will probably gravitate towards this than something like the X-T3 or the X Pro or X Pro line.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's also, I think, XE4 or something like that was thrown around as well. What about the Sony? Do you think there is, because this camera, as I understand, it's like this, travel camera for girls, for guys, everyday street photography, that kind of thing. And I can see the appeal. I also pretty much like it how it is. Do you think there is any equivalent from Sony side? I mean, we are talking about APS-C cameras, so not the full frame ones, except A7C, I guess, would be from the full frame. But let's keep the price down. Yeah. What do you think of Sony?
I believe Sony has something, the Sony ZV EF?
E10?
Something like that, yeah, where it strips away all the features, but the autofocusing is probably the one thing that is like saving the Sony camera. But at the same time, I feel as though Sony cameras, they're just more of a machine, where when you hold it, it doesn't feel inspiring. Whereas something like this, to me, when I hold it, I really want to take it out, like the dials and stuff. It just makes it more fun. The thing that I still have to go back on is the image quality. Even though, Sony doesn't have like film recipes or film simulations or like that, the one thing that I always ask beginners is, are you willing to edit your photos, learn how to edit, or do you want something that just makes your workflow just a little bit easier? You just want a photo to turn out looking better than what you can edit. So that's why I always recommend Fuji instead of Sony, because Sony, you still need to work on it because their JPEGs aren't that good.
And I actually want you to continue on this thought, and just tell people what are the recipes, because that's a word thrown around quite a lot and people get confused. What it is so special about it? What is it in a Fuji world? And also you can talk about the community here, because also Sony has creative styles. And they're customizable as well, but I guess they're not so popular.
So the Fujifilm recipes are, it's made by the community. If you go to a website like Fuji X Weekly, it's run by this one guy named Richie, and he has film recipes that he created for like multiple Fujifilm sensors. And what's great is that it's basically give you different looks. And Richie is a madman. He experimented. He used to shoot on film, so he played with different film stocks. So he would try to recreate these film stock looks from film from his film days and put it on something digital. And that's one thing that I like about the film simulations is once you play around.
So yeah, what about these things?
Yeah.
So that's the same thing, right?
Yeah. So once you pick your film simulations, these once used to be film stocks that Fujifilm sell for you to pick up and actually shoot with.
But that's not a recipe.
That's not a recipe.
Okay.
So what a recipe is afterwards is that you can go in and adjust those settings. You don't have to You can deepen the blacks, adjust the shadows and the highlights, and this is where we can get creative looks. And it's so much better than the Sony creative looks.
So the first thing that you do is you choose the film look first, and then you go on with the recipe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then it becomes like this baked-in look that you get on your Fujifilm camera. So it just bypass the editing phase that you would usually do on your editing software like Adobe Lightroom.
You still have the RAW.
You still have the RAW, yes, but you also get the JPEG as well, and that's where you can either use the JPEG or just get the RAWs and try to explore different looks by editing it yourself.
All right, that's great. I think we can take it to the second part of the video where we talk about lenses, and I'm not sure it's going to be as long as the first part, but how's the lens selection for Fuji? Because we all know Sony is king in this. There's insane amount of lenses available. So how is Fuji doing?
I think their lens lineup is very fleshed out when it comes to native lenses, but we also got to talk about the third-party options right now too. You got companies like 7 Artisans, TT Artisans, Viltrox, and so many more, Laowa. They make lenses for Fujifilm, and I feel as though that although it's not a lot like Sony, because Sony has a lot of lenses. If you were to invest in a camera brand, I believe that Fujifilm should be up there when it comes to the lens selections that they have.
Short question. What about the pricing? How does it compare with Sony lenses? Is it up there? Quality, price, performance?
So with Fujifilm, since it's an APS-C line, they don't have a full frame option like what Sony has. Sony has the G Master lens. What Fuji does have is like their equivalent. They make their APS-C lines as best as they could because they have no full frame lines. They have no full frame lens options to protect. So they make. I feel as though they make their lens to be like super sharp, and it's really good compared to something like Sony's full frame options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I also feel like they maybe not have that many lenses, but they are in a pretty good quality. Yeah. Although their naming convention is a bit confusing with R, WR, and all those things. Let's bring some very practical examples for the audience. Yeah. If someone would get an XM5 and they say, oh, I want it to be very close to something like the X106, one lens, something really small, something I can put in a pocket, something I can just do street photography, travel photography, maybe make a video once in a while, but nothing crazy. What would it be?
So if they want a field of view like the X106, then we gotta recommend the 23mm focal length. So there's many options that you can get for Fujifilm. There's actually the XF 23mm f2 lens. Very compact, very good for street photography, and paired with this camera, it's going to be like super tiny, super compact. There's also the 23mm f1.4, so if you want a faster, wider aperture lens, you can go that route. It's bigger, it's more expensive because of that f1.4. And there's also the third-party options, which I would probably recommend because if you're buying something like the XM5, then there are some third-party options like the Viltrox 25mm f1.7, which is a lens that I really enjoy, that I truly like. It's so good for the price. It's probably like 200, less than $200. Yeah. So pair that with this, you're gonna be fine. And there's also one more, which is the new 23mm pancake lens from Fuji. So if you want it to be like the ultimate compactness, then I guess the 23mm pancake lens would be the closest one to having similar shooting experience with the Fujifilm X106.
Yeah. I think there was one also from TT Artisan or for 7 Artisans, 27mm something. Also f2.8. Yeah, that I think also is pretty affordable. Yeah. Silver color, I believe, for the silver one. Okay, we're gonna leave all the links in the description, obviously, so you guys don't have to rewind this and search for the camera, for the lenses. But I do agree with the Viltrox 25mm f1.7. I have it for my A6700. Absolutely love it. They've done a really good job. Okay, let's move on to the final third part of the video. Let's talk more specifically about XM5. You talked about how great it is, how nice it looks. I can imagine the brown leather strap and even the dual color would look nice with the pancake lens. Let's talk about downsides. Not necessarily about Fuji. We know there are, you can mention some of the Fuji downsides, but also the XM5.
Right.
Keep it under 10 minutes.
Okay. Some of the downsides that I found for the Fujifilm XM5 is there's no viewfinder.
It's fine by me.
It's fine by you because I come from using a lot of viewfinder cameras. This is one thing that I actually have an issue with. I think this is a me issue. For beginners, I'm sure it's fine because you guys are so used to shooting on your iPhones anyways, so you guys will take a look at it like it's a phone camera, a phone screen. Another thing is there's no IBIS, but at this price, I don't believe it's warranted. Again, this is just me having played with so many cameras that it's one thing that I actually feel like I need in my cameras. The last thing I would say, I'm not a fan of the battery that is put into this camera. It's one of the older batteries that Fuji has, and it's known to have terrible battery life. So that's one thing that I don't like. So when you are shooting with this camera, you have to bring multiples.
There's one thing that everyone says about Fuji, the autofocus. Please comment on that.
Yes. So the autofocusing is one of the worst autofocusing in the business. Fujifilm's autofocusing is the worst in the industry.
For Fuji or for XM5 is the worst?
So the XM5 has the same processor as the Fujifilm X-H2, like all the Pro lines. So they basically all have the same autofocusing tracking, autofocusing algorithm and all that. And they're all the same. I tested this autofocusing yesterday. Although it seems stickier, it shows you that it sticks onto your eye. When you review the photos, it doesn't. The iris is not as sharp. I'm a portrait photographer, so I need my eyeballs to be tack sharp, and that's one thing that Fujifilm cameras are weak at. But when it comes to like tracking like big moving subjects, I feel that it's fine. You can also, and it also tracks humans in videos just a little bit better than photography autofocusing tracking. That's all I have to say.
We have a sun going down.
Yeah,
so we have like literally a minute. I have two more questions.
Yeah.
One, can you grow with Fuji? How is the ecosystem of, if you want to take it to the next level, cages, bunch of accessories that you want to put on? How is that thing going? Keep it short.
So if you want to grow with Fuji, you can. If you are a videographer or content creator and you're starting out with this camera, you can also move up to something like the Fujifilm X-H2S, where it has like a stack sensor, it has dual SD memory card slots, and it also has weather sealing, something that you may need. And then from there, you can rig out your camera, put cages on it, V-mount batteries, and the whole shebang. And you can do that on the Fujifilm X-H2S.
So there's plenty of third-party manufacturers like Small Rig and others to have that thing.
Yep, Small Rig will have all the cages that you need for something like Fujifilm X-H2S.
All right. One last question.
Yeah.
What's one thing Sony should steal from Fuji?
Oh man, if I were to say, I think it would have to be something like a film simulations. If Fuji can get like some fun, colorful picture profile and just have a community behind it that can create like, these different looks, because like you said, there are creative styles and you can actually go in and, create looks out of them. However, there's not a whole community behind that like Fujifilm, and that's where like, you know, these Sony creative looks falls apart in my opinion, because I am not a mad scientist. I'm not Richie, so I'm never going to be like tinkering with different picture profiles. I need someone else to do that for me. So if someone else can do that and make it look like Fujifilm, that'll be great.
But that's not going to be an original one, because Fuji is Fuji. That's what people get the camera for.
Exactly.
All right, Tung. Thank you so much. I think we have a bunch of other questions that we are not answering, but otherwise the video is going to be 3 hours and it's going to get dark here. We have to make a campfire or some shit.
Thanks, Tom, for having me on your insanely high production value podcast. I just love sitting out here in the middle of the desert. It's been great. Very romantic. We should have like candlelight dinners next time around here.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and check out Tung's channel as well. And yeah, we catch you in the next one.
Ciao.
Cheers.